Well, good afternoon. Thanks for hanging out with us for the balance of the day. It's interesting being here at a cloud forum talking about IoT, following Mark talking about security. It's actually kind of a perfect fit. We were joking coming up on stage here. Somebody asked me, they said, well, IoT, are you just going to get up on stage and say, well, IoT is the answer to everything, and then walk off, right? You guys hear the hype? I don't think I need to introduce the concept of IoT to you. Now, what I'd like to do is to talk about and make the case to you about why it's real. Now, the market's talking about IoT, right? Plenty of devices, the complexity of embedded systems that are out there, the potential business opportunity, the potential opportunity to impact us personally, the market impact, the challenges, security, right? Security is one of the biggest governors on the adoption of IoT, for sure. Scale. How do we rapidly compose and develop and deploy applications? But much is real. And that's the case I'd like to make for you here this afternoon. Much is real. Value is being created. Differentiation is being solidified. Innovation is being enabled. And perhaps most importantly, client experience and client expectations, both you as our clients and your end clients, those expectations are increasing because of a lot of the noise and the buzz that's in the marketplace. So the question about IoT is not so much about the hype, but the question is why now and how? And I want to make that case for you here over the next 20 minutes or so. You've heard elements of it through the day. Cloud, the power of cloud, hybrid cloud. The role that cloud, when converged with data and analytics and engagement, plays together. Hopefully you caught the panel that Tim drove and listened to Nigel talking about Silverhook. And I'm going to talk more about that example later. It's a great example of the power of IoT when data, cloud, and engagement converge. So let's start with the fundamentals. We have to start with devices, right? IoT, we like to talk about devices. There's a lot of devices. There's a lot of big numbers. At the end of the day, the number of devices don't matter. What matters is what's coming off these devices. The devices are there to do something. I have a feed water pump on my generating plant to move water, right, into the boiler, right? We're in this room. I have a chiller in the system with an air handler to manage the temperature in the room. But with the devices and embedded systems, it's about the data. What does data do for us? Data enables insights from analytics. Data fuels process and workflow optimization. This data is literally enabling new products and services, and in some cases actually disrupting supply chains. Why? Well, as the data sources accelerate, right, our world is being expressed digitally through literally billions of interconnected and instrumented devices. Phones, different forms of sensors, your vehicle, a lot of your appliances in your home, and also components on more complex machines, things like turbines on the airplane you flew here on, or maybe one of the drills out in one of the rigs in the Gulf. Now, the data from those individual devices in and upon itself is interesting, and there's a lot we and you can do with that. But when we start to interconnect those devices, that context, that richness only expands. And that interconnection is a critical element in IoT. So we think about the interconnection of these devices also with us and the richness we provide in different forms of data, social data, et cetera. That combined leads to a lot of potential. And the potential really is in intelligence. If you think about intelligence as the true potential, right? Having the ability to filter through all the data, make it relevant, correlate it, make it actionable, and then apply it. Apply it for what? A business outcome. Back to the points I made earlier. That's the Internet of Things. And I'm going to share with you some examples in a little bit. But to take advantage of the IoT, we need to drill into the role of cloud and the role that data and engagement play when converged with cloud. And as Mark pointed out, security is a very important thread as we talk about the IoT. More on that too. But before we do, I have to be, by nature of my job, one of the biggest cheerleaders for IoT. And I'm very often asked to defend IoT or defend the hype, or is it real? And the hype is fair. I'm sure you all see the TV commercials, you're probably bombarded with advertisements. And the question itself is interesting. What is real? What is IoT? What does it mean for me? We'll get into that in a minute. But it is real. We see opportunity today. We see real examples spanning every industry on the planet of real value, real differentiation, improved client experience. And again, I'll share some examples with you here in a few minutes. Now, some recent surveys and market data tell us some interesting things. things that you all and your executives participated in. So 3 ways that we see IoT, the primary ways we see IoT impacting the enterprise. First, unlocking new revenue from products and services. So a great example is connected products. If any of you are in the discrete manufacturing business, medical devices, appliances, vehicles, up to things as complex as aircraft, weapon systems. Think about that for a second. How do I unlock new revenue with a connected product? How do I use IoT? Well, if my products are instrumented and I'm connecting data once they're deployed into my customer, I can use that data to enrich the services I provide. I may be able to provide new aftermarket services. There's much I can do with that to drive new revenue streams. Second, IoT can inspire new working practices and processes. I'll give you a personal example. All of you drive automobiles. And not too long ago, in fact, many of your cars today, you probably still go in for oil changes every 3,000 miles. Now, maybe you have a new modern car that has sensors that tells you when to go in. But if you were going in every 3,000 miles or 3,700 miles or whatever it might be, you really had no idea if you were over-maintaining or under-maintaining that vehicle. But think about it. We got a lot of technologists in the room. What breaks things? Change. So why would I over-maintain my vehicle at my own cost and introducing potential issues? Conversely, what if I'm under-maintaining it and I don't know? It's a great example of now the instrumentation that's going into vehicles so that you know precisely when you need to have maintenance and what needs to be done, and better yet, and into the future, dealer networks and automobile manufacturers can actually provide you with services. They can enrich your experience as a customer by providing you not only information on maintenance, but also information on times of emergency, such as you have a run-flat tire, your tire went flat, rerouting to the nearest tire fix-it place. And the third area is around changing and creating new business models and strategies. Great example of this is the insurance industry, where the insurance industry is adapting to this technology, driving things like usage-based insurance, where they can look at patterns of your driving behavior, should you opt in, at least now, should you opt in to look at things like your braking patterns, how you accelerate from a stop. That can basically measure your level of aggressiveness and the type of driver you are and build policies around your driving behavior. Much more personalized. Better experience for you, better business outcome for the insurer. Lots of examples of that. One of the most interesting stats, 62% of C-level executives in this survey indicated that companies that are slow to adopt the IoT will fall behind the competition. I like to kind of spin that and say it a different way. 62% of those executives are basically saying that companies that adopt IoT and enable it are creating sustainable differentiation against their competition. We see that happening. We see some of our customers that are adopting and moving, separating from their peers in the industry, or literally creating new industries. Oops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button there. Now, let's talk about what, right? So the IoT is full of individual processes and the way that it impacts your enterprise, right? So there's much focus on things like consumer-oriented IoT outcomes. I have my Fitbit, which I absolutely love, right? Consumer-oriented, connected appliances. There's a lot of good consumer and business benefits coming from that focus, and that's a lot about what we read about and what you hear about. And to date, there hasn't been nearly as much focus and attention on the impact of IoT in the enterprise till now. But the impact can be and is very profound. If you just think through some individual services and processes that maybe you have in your business or you experience in your hometown, city services, you think about how you arrived here, transportation, you take for granted that the water is going to flow from the tap in the morning and the electricity is going to be on. All of those services individually can be impacted positively by the IoT. But if we take those services and we start to construct patterns of them together, we look for points of intersection, magical things can happen. And this is what we're starting to see. This is really where I think the IoT is going to kick into gear. So let me give you an example. Intelligent medical devices, emergency vehicles, and let's see, connected vehicles. So connected vehicles and emergency management. So individually interesting, each can be impacted. But can you think of a scenario where those three might intersect together for a better outcome? Personal example, right? Caring for your elderly parent that lives at home alone. creates a lot of worry, creates a lot of stress. So what if that parent had a medical device wearable that not only was capturing key health stats through the day that would enable pattern analysis by her doctors, but could also do things like fall detection. So if the medical device manufacturer picked up a fall, they could identify and say, okay, we've picked up a fall, we've noticed no motion for 5 minutes, triggering a business rule. That business rule fires an API that connects to the local emergency management services. The local emergency management services picks it up, rolls an ambulance, and while that ambulance is rolling, they're not only getting the data you and I would get, like location information and traffic, but perhaps they're getting the actual patient information on the way, patient medical history, allergies, likely causes of an issue, so they're preparing on the way, saving valuable time and seconds as they enter the house to provide better care. So think about that for a second. That is a very plausible scenario today. Now, how does that happen? Think about the data, the sources of data, aggregation, correlation, the analytics. What's the role of cloud? Elastic and secure infrastructure, rapid app development, business apps, integration, and engagement, all the different points of mobility, the wearables, the mobile, and the ambulance. There could be social sentiment involved, and even using humans as sensors. Pretty interesting. That's IoT. IoT is enabled by the convergence of data, cloud, and engagement, as we've said. So I'd like to build on the story, hopefully you all heard from Nigel, right? Silverhook, the racing boats. It's amazing, right? So picture yourself, put yourself just for a second in that boat. You're in the cockpit with Nigel, which is gonna be awesome, right? And you're going 140 miles an hour in the ocean in 4-foot swells, and you're getting bounced around and you're pulling 6 Gs. Just feel that speed and power just for a second. Now, as Nigel said, right, they saw an opportunity to innovate. So using Bluemix, in a couple of weeks, they built out some new apps. Cloud. Where did the data came from? Data came from over 70 onboard sensors that they were pulling up real time while the boat was racing into the cloud. And with analytics and business rules, they were pushing insights down to the onshore race team and giving information to the spectators to enrich their experience. That's an IoT example. It's a better outcome for Silverhook, not only because of the performance and Nigel can focus when they're racing, but they also enrich the experience of their spectators, which for that sport is incredibly important. Pretty interesting, right? So together, that combination of cloud, data, and engagement is what's driving the IoT, and frankly, simultaneously transforming a lot of the ways that we live every day and we engage with products and services. So I've talked about IoT kind of in general, right, and give you a little bit of sense, and hopefully I'm making the case that this is real, it's happening, and if it's impacting you either directly through your journey or through your competition. But let's talk about what it means for you directly. So just walk around the questions on this chart with me briefly. And for those in the back, I apologize. This is about as big of a font as I could manage to get on the slide. But walk around this. Do any of these ring true? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe the answer is I'm not sure. I hadn't thought about it. Maybe the answer is we're kind of doing that today, but should we? Is there a partner in our ecosystem that should be doing that so we could focus on our core competency? Is there an opportunity for us to disrupt our supply chain or industry by doing one of these things? These are the possibilities. And at the end of the day, IoT is about context. And as you're looking through these questions, your peers are looking through these questions and they're making investments, or at least beginning to make investments. We're also beginning to make investments, and I'm going to come to that just in a bit. So look, you can hopefully feel my passion for this. I'm an engineer by trade, and I see the opportunity in a lot of the clients that I work with, and I'm seeing results. So the opportunity is there. But I'm going to be the first to tell you that IoT is all about context. As I said, it is not a one-size-fits-all. Now, why isn't it a one-size-fits-all? Because if you're a healthcare provider, or a power generator, or in retail, or in insurance, it means different things to you. It's about context, your industry, your regulatory environment, your business model, your client engagement model, so on and so forth. It's about context. IoT is a concept that has to be applied in the context of your world, your business. To Guy's point, your mission, your mantra, not how you do things today, because that will evolve. And we start that context, we kind of look at it in 3 segments. Segment number 1, many of you that manufacture goods or provide services. There's sort of a class of patterns in there. Some of you operate physical infrastructure, power generation, rail, aviation. There's a set of patterns there. Some of you are in industries that are in a more of a direct engagement model like retail and insurance. And there's a set of IoT patterns there. So if you're at the beginning of your journey, you haven't started your journey, even if you're along your journey, I'd encourage you to think about this context and the flexibility that's required as you think about IoT. And frankly, look for lessons learned in your industry. Others, your ecosystem partners, folks you can talk to who may be ahead of you that can assist you in this. Now, let me give you a few examples. Let's start with makers. I'm going to use a discrete manufacturing example, right? So somebody that builds things for a living and traditionally would sell a product. These industries, automotive, aerospace and defense, consumer packaged goods, are literally being transformed by the IoT. So take, for instance, an automobile manufacturer. Traditionally, it's an electromechanical piece of equipment. Now I've got embedded systems, embedded software. Think of the complexity that introduces all the way up into the requirements management process, through design, into serviceability. How do I model those IoT systems? So IoT creates a lot of need and complexity, but also creates a lot of benefit, right? If my car can communicate, what are the possibilities of that for me as a driver? For maintenance, for things like road safety. So if I know there's black ice 2 miles up ahead, my car is going to tell me there's black ice two up ahead because it's pulling that information from other cars ahead of me through the cloud. There's tremendous potential. For the discrete manufacturers, though, some of those challenges are quite real. One of our clients is an electronics supplier to the automotive industry, and typically it would take them 3 years from a product concept to get that product in market. 3 years for a technology product. That is a lifetime. Why? The complexity, the inability to reuse, the testing, the lack of collaboration. So working with us, utilizing some of our collaborations tools, some of our capabilities for reusing software components in embedded design, they were able to drastically cut their time to market from 3 years down to something like much less than 3 years, driving competitive differentiation and enabling a better client experience through the automobile manufacturer to the end client. I don't know how many of you have newer cars that have the newer systems in them, but a lot of those have had issues. Particularly, if you have to go to the dealer to get a thumb drive update, that's not a good experience. So this is a good thing. Let me give you another example with operators. I'm going to tell you a story about a company in England that operates a very large renewable electric generation organization. That's tough to say. Renewable electric generation organization, sorry. And how do they do it? They have a fleet of wind turbines, and then they have a fleet of biomass generating stations. Biomass is I'm pulling methane gas from landfills, running that into a small generator producing electricity. But they're small enough they don't need full-time people. The business model wouldn't support it. So how do they operate? Well, they remotely monitor all these things. They pull the data through the cloud into an operating center. And with business logic, with analytics, they can identify operating abnormalities before they turn into problems. And they can roll crews with the right skills, the right parts, the right tools to address issues before they occur, enabling very high levels of production, high capacity factor, and enabling high customer satisfaction. Pretty neat. Now, one we can all identify with, engagement. Airports, and I think you know this, airports often, particularly modern airports now, generate more revenue through their retail stores than they do through airplane traffic, particularly some of the larger international airports. But I think we've probably all experienced, you're coming back from Europe into an East Coast airport on a Friday afternoon, surge of people, everything slows down. Or you go to the airport on a Monday morning, particularly if it's school vacation week, and it's a nightmare to get through security. Those are fairly predictable and can be staffed in advance. But there are issues that occur, such as weather, quick weather issues that occur that create surge issues in airports. Surge issues create really nasty traveler satisfaction issues, which impact the retailers. So we're actually working with one of the largest airports in the Middle East, looking at this problem and using cloud and data and engagement, particularly our mobile presence zones technology with some things we do around facility space management. And we're enabling to spot these surges before they get out of hand so they can react. React with staff, react with roping, whatever it might be. But enabling a better traveler experience, but also a better business outcome, because if the travelers are happy, they're going to go in the stores and spend money. And for the airport, that is a key outcome. So we've made great progress applying innovation. Smarter cities, connected vehicles, intelligent oil fields, and the like. But just hear me on this. It's not about the things. Again, it's not about the things. IoT is not about the things. It is about the data and what we can do with the data. The insight that we're going to drive, what we're going to do with that insight to drive a better outcome. As Dave said earlier this morning, IoT is a new frontier of innovation. It's a new frontier of value creation. It really is. There's a lot of comparisons maybe to the Industrial Revolution, which history will judge, but I think that's fair. Now, we know it's where we need to be investing in to help you compete and win, which means we need to be investing. So a few weeks ago, we announced that we're going to be investing $3 billion over the next 4 years on an IoT business unit. A business unit is focused on nothing but the Internet of Things and working with you along that journey, working together. And what we're doing is taking data, analytics, cloud, and engagement, and accelerating our roadmaps even faster than we were moving to enable you to capture the opportunity. And I'm purposely not going into a lot of detail on the what of that. Some of that's been made public, because I didn't want to get too much into the detail without making the case for the why. Now, our mission is clear, and we're committed to helping you guys, right? So this is just kind of a quick look at some of the things that we do, bringing together the analytics with the cloud, mobile, social, and to Mark's point, with security. So the commitment's based on this rich suite of things that we already do, market-leading capabilities in a number of areas. But it's also based on what we're doing with cloud. Now, think about the things you've heard during the day, the important role of hybrid cloud, what we're doing with the digital innovation platform, Bluemix. Crucial. Why is it crucial? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what IoT is going to look like 2 years from now. I certainly don't know what it's going to look like 3, 4, 5 years from now. Never mind in the context of your industry. Every one of us, me in developing solutions, you in moving along your IoT journey, needs flexibility. You need open standards. You need modularity. You need to be able to innovate with speed and not be locked into proprietary technologies or monolithic platforms. That much is clear with IoT. We are going to go on this journey together. Make no mistake about it. And we are continuing to deliver on our commitments, delivering new Bluemix services, enhanced applications, and new purpose-built industry solutions on our own and with our ecosystem partners. So I'd like to close with where Robert started this morning. 72% of business leaders say cloud will be extremely important to the business success by 2016. Now, I'm from Boston. I particularly don't want to think about next January given the winter we just had, but that's 8 months away. 8 months is next year. So if 72% of you say cloud is important, extremely important to your success in 2016, 8 months goes awfully fast. And we've talked a lot about cloud today, right? The infrastructure, dynamic, elastic, and secure, digital innovation platform, the business apps. I've briefly taken you through the role of cloud and IoT today and as we go into the future. Now, it's clear we're on a journey together. There's no question about it. We look forward to engaging with you, having a conversation. Where are you? What have we learned? What might a good first step be? And that is crucial. And let me give you one good example of why working together is important. I want to build on where Mark was with security. We do a fabulous job with security today. Security is all about patterns and sort of layers, right? One of the things we've noticed in working with you and your peers and with our ecosystem partners, there are some areas to improve in security with IoT. If you think about it, as applications and analytics converse with devices, there's an expectation there that that communication is both secure and private. Those interactions have to have trust, right? IoT requires trust down to the device level. Well, how is that established? How do we know the device is who it says it is and it isn't something trying to spoof into my network or someone trying to hack in? That is it's a really fundamental question that there are some good answers for in the marketplace, but we think there is a better approach that we're embarking on. So collaborating with some of you, some of your peers, some of our ecosystem partners, that's something that we're working on. And a few weeks ago, one of the other announcements we made is that we're extending our collaboration with Texas Instruments. And the goal of that collaboration is to develop a highly secure, cloud-hosted provisioning and lifecycle management service for IoT devices. That would enable trust and authentication through the life cycle, literally from the wafer up into devices through its life cycle. And we also plan to make that capability and produce it in an open standard way to enable broad industry adoption across the silicon ecosystem and out across the cloud providers. We think that's crucial to sort of raise the tide of IoT. So regardless of your organization, your role, whether you're designing and building new data-rich apps, capabilities, looking to make your system smarter, faster, or seeking new ways to leverage data-intensive offerings to better engage with your clients, I'm pretty confident that IoT has a role in that journey. And hopefully I've made the case for you here this afternoon. Thank you for your time and attention. Thanks for joining us here at the forum and sticking with us all day. Look forward to meeting you at the reception. If you'd like to learn more, ibm.com/IoT. And I'm going to make a shameless ploy. Try it on Bluemix. Go try the IoT stuff on Bluemix, free trial. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor back to Dave. Thank you.